Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about the video games Doom, The Dark Ages, Dungeons of Hinterberg, and more. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. All right, thank you all for joining me here on another lovely Monday afternoon. It is gorgeous outside, truly, truly gorgeous. This is some beats going weather, but unfortunately, I'm here working from home, just like probably many of you, or some of you are commuting or able to work and enjoy the outdoors in some way, which is, decent. I'm sure I can go outside and for a spell, but honestly, what's keeping me indoors is trying my best to find a good deal on these Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering boxes. I mean, it is pretty crazy with the prices of the collective boxes and everything, but I think everything else, like the decks and everything, is pretty crazy. I'm lucky I got a booster box. That's just pretty good here. And I'm trying for the podcast to get a collector's box of some sort, just to open up for the episode. I think it'd be really fun to attempt to open up one of those and experience that for the first time, and just have that here and solidified. I think it's a great crossover, and we'll be opening up a bunch more things related to Magic the Gathering and video games like Assassin's Creed, Fallout. Got something for Street Fighter here, and yeah, we're doing what we can. I even thought about selling some cards I'm not really using right now. It's just been the way it's been. So also something I haven't done recently in a very long time, and I'm really, really excited for this, is a midnight release. A midnight release for not a video game, but a console. And now I don't have a pre-order set for this. I don't know when we'll be able to do that ever again, get these pre-orders. But GameStops and I think maybe other maybe local stores like a Best Buy or Walmart or maybe something like that might be doing physical releases of these consoles at midnight. I believe the date is the 4th to the 5th. I think it like starts at like, 3 p.m. time, at least here on the East Coast around 3 p.m. So I'll be going to a local store and doing my best to get me a Switch. I think it'd be really fun to have the console here and talk about it for the podcast, see what it's like. It's just going to be really fun. I haven't done a midnight release in a very, very long time. I think maybe the Xbox One era with like, I don't know, Sunset Overdrive or Thief or maybe Arkham Knight. I think it was Arkham Knight. I think that came out like around the Xbox One era as well, and me and my friends, we did a bet on who could beat Arkham Knight the fastest, and obviously it was me, like 100% it. It was just the riddles and all the levels and all the challenge stuff. It was me by a landslide. I had the most time at the time, and if we did that now, it might still be me, but it was a pretty fun challenge to do. And I have not done one of these midnight releases in such a very long time. It's very nostalgic for me to be able to go back and do that. I would get a salted caramel hot chocolate from Dunkin' Donuts on the way to and from the the store. I would walk there. It would be within walking distance. I, never had a car, so it's just like, very convenient to be doing that. Good times. I really miss that. So it's gonna be really fun to do that and camp out for this midnight release again. I don't have a pre-order for it, as I said, but I'm gonna try my best to just snag one. It's gonna be really fun, and I'm not sure what games are gonna get at the launch. I don't know what games are gonna have on the title. I'm not gonna do any of the upgraded nonsense. I'm not paying extra money for a game I already bought at to be honest, launch. If it's a Switch main title, I probably bought it at launch. So I'm not paying it again. I'm just not gonna do that. We always talk about Nintendo. Nintendo, as far as I know, they've always been very solid and soliditary in their uh, like conferences and their publications of what they're putting out there for being, news about their games. They don't really do the whole partnering with showcases stuff ever since like E3, I think. And they wouldn't do things like, I don't think they've been at a Summer Games Fest since before, I think maybe 2020 or so. Nowadays, they would only have their own broadcasts and publications of what they put out. I think I saw an article where they are coming to Gamescom. They're partnering with Gamescom. I think they're like more of a German centered. I only hear about them ever being in Germany, but apparently after skipping last year's Gamescom, they're going to be coming back up here. 2025 for Gamescom showing off obviously the Switch 2, which is pretty cool. And that's just, pretty related to the Switch content. We're gonna find more news, hopefully more games. The current lineup is really exciting, but I don't think for a first party game system in 2025, only Donkey Kong and like I think coming out this year it's just Donkey Kong. Like I don't know if that really does it. Like one title, I don't know. The Switch 2 and the Magic the Gathering crossover is definitely making the summer seem pretty exciting, which is going to be next month. And besides, my coveted beach trips that I look forward to all the time. Video game releases. I don't know what specifically comes out in the summer. I haven't really taken time to look, but right now what's occupying me is Doom: The Dark Ages. And man, I don't know. I don't know if this game is it. I just feel like I know the Switch with the mobility is there, like that was kind of intentional, but I definitely feel like it's more of a hindrance. I like the shield. The shield is really nice, being able to throw it, but I dislike having to block with it just all the time. I don't dislike the parrying with the green ones, but just having to always block and not being able to shoot, at least so far from where I'm at. I don't know where I am now. I think I'm on chapter 9, level 9, and my initial thoughts on it is that it's still very pretty. It just kind of looks the same as Doom Eternal, and I'll say it, the levels don't even feel as intricate or like as like specifically designed as we play. I'm not using the levels like the map design to kind of get my way around. I'm really just it to be honest, what it really is you pick the big enemies first to get them out of your way because they have the parry attack that you can only use to destroy them, and then you can start shooting at them. But you have all the little guys shooting at you, and you can't block like some of the stuff behind you. You can't dash out of the way. It's actually really frustrating to play Doom: The Dark Ages, just on the controller that I'm playing and on the system that it has. It's just pretty irritating. The game does have like secrets and like maybe some secret levels and like to be honest, most of the secrets just kind of come down to collecting the currency to upgrade your character, which is a relatively more annoying. But it doesn't feel the same as Doom Eternal, and I that game was so sick because the gameplay loop was you find a decent way of getting through each challenge on your own with each and every gun. But what now it's okay, there are these big bads there right now because we have this big giant bar of morale to go against. Let's just focus on only the big guys and not even care about anything else really because you don't have to. And then, to get the big guys down, destroy like the leader, and then you win. You get like an upgrade for your character. I find that less enjoyable because now it's far more formulaic with the system of kill the big guys first, then the leader, and then the mid guys they don't matter, just kind of use them as fodder. The difference with Doom Eternal was that you can attack every single enemy at any point and to get whatever you wanted out with whatever gun you wanted and the weaknesses and all that shit. Nah, in Doom the Dark Ages, it's just not the wave. I would actually really prefer to play Doom Eternal than the Dark Ages just because I feel like I earned the level progressing and the character progression a lot more than in this game. It's just more just like I'm just gonna parry when I can, shoot the enemy to get it to purple, do the gore kill, which the gore kills kind of suck now. You pretty much just punch them and kick them. You're not doing these intricate, really cool like gore moves from what I see. It's just not really the same to me. And it's on Game Pass. This game was on Game Pass. Right now I'm only paid like $11 to try this game out on top of the other two games that we did before, Oblivion and Expedition 33. Phenomenal games. And this game doesn't hit that degree, even though one of them is like a completely original game that we just talked about and one's a remaster. This one's a sequel. And this sequel feels like it just takes a little bit away in a way that makes it different from the last game. And then the shield is a nice addition. I would just really preferred it to have like a dash button and not having the dash button, like the lack of mobility really just kind of like saying that to boil it down really sounds like it's like the one nitpicky thing, but it's really because of that that the rest of the gameplay I think really suffers because now you have to prioritize certain enemies to get them out of your way. Like the enemies that are on the dogs that shoot the arrows and all the little things that you have to dodge against because you can't dodge naturally. You just have to face something and block it or move out of the way. And I dislike that. Doom 2016 never did that on its hardest difficulty, but I remember that game still being really fun. But I super enjoyed Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal was phenomenal, and I don't think Dark Ages does it. It's probably the worst in the trilogy of the newer games. Just to compare them and just what I've done. It has some really cool moments, right? The dragon riding is sick for the most part. Um, it has some kind of openness to its levels, kind of. And I personally don't care about the story. The story has never been a selling point for me in Doom. Like, absolutely not. The real selling point for me on Doom 2016 was the gore kills and how everything looked awesome and the soundtrack. And then Doom Eternal came out, and what kept me a fan of that game was the gameplay. It was the gameplay that, made me a super big fan of Doom Eternal. It's on Game Pass though, so like it's pretty cheap. Everybody should go check it out. For the most part, I don't know what's the difference between Game Pass Ultimate and everything else, but I thought I had Ultimate on whatever both consoles, but I guess just only PC, which is not that bad. I'll have to just only play it on PC. It isn't too bad. It's pretty nice having the Xbox console and then like the PC. 'Cause I can just keep one at home, like the console, and then just bring the PC with me. It works out really really well. The laptop that I have. Um, this is a game that I have on just the Xbox though. Dungeons of Hinterberg. I really wanted to play this game at launch, but I think it coincided with like another release that we were doing at the time that, because I was paid money for that game. I would rather much play that game. I don't even know what game came out, but obviously there was something more important than now. But I took some time to play it while Doom Dark Ages was downloading, and I have far better opinions about this game than I initially thought, just as somebody who just looked at it and was like a fan of it. It was like, oh, it looks relatively neat. This game has a little bit of like your action combat Ratchet and Clank kind of game with Mario 64 and Persona mixed in, with like the Ratchet and Clank being like the 3D kind of action whack 'em dots kind of style gameplay, just to say a game that's like a PS2 era kind of action game. And then Mario 64 is like a world hub game where like you collect collectibles and those unlock more worlds. That's something that's a mechanic in Dungeon of Hinterberg, which I really like. I like mechanics like that. A game that I was talking about a little bit with a friend ago was um Rugrats. Shit, I forget the Royal Ransom. Rugrats the Royal Ransom, where you collect like batteries and you power up Hugh's or Stu's like little toy house thing, and that makes more of the worlds available to you. Like I like mechanics like that. And then it has like a friendship uh mechanic where like you talk to NPCs and they give you more benefits the more you talk to them and more you utilize them in game, just like in games like Persona. So it's like a little bit of everything, which I think is really, really awesome. And the vibe is super there. The vibe is super there, especially with like the art style being like this cozy, like bright lit art style. And it can get like a little bit dark and grunge in the dungeons, which is nice. And then it's just so laid back. And I haven't even gotten too far into it, but it's definitely far exceeded my expectations of when I initially just saw trailers of it before. And I'm super loving this game. It has a decent amount of variety in its combat. I wasn't expecting to get like super moves, which I haven't seen yet, but you do have like these abilities, like this chain ball you can throw, or like some blast, which is pretty cool. Use the trigger. Some of them you could be used in like combat, like this bomb you can drop gives me very much Legend of Zelda style vibes. And some of these you can even use in like the overworld. So like that definitely does have like Legend of Zelda, or I think like Ratchet and Clank kind of motif with that, with using weapons and stuff in the later parts of the game, which I really like. It's really really fun. So Dungeons of Hinterberg also on Xbox. Super super fun game. I do think it's time for us to talk about our sponsor, Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crass, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. We also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acid, anotropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby is an energy drink powder that is produced in FDA registered and inspected facilities in the United States. If you use the coupon code Gamer Librarian, you can receive 10% off your order on things like drink powders, apparel, portable bottles, stickers, and bags. That's if you use the coupon code down below at checkout. All right, yeah, we've been pretty slow on the reading front here. I just haven't really found something to really focus on. I did try to catch up on the DC Absolute comics, just a few of them today. Specifically, we got through Flash #2. That one was sick. Really, really cool. I'm liking that the Rogues Gallery are kind of maybe I think they're possibly maybe like side heroes here in this story. They don't really seem like specifically villains for the most part, but they're definitely really cool. I like their whole vibes. We don't know a whole lot about them, but we are seeing stuff with the Flash being something like a Paul Atreides type character where he can see all of his types of past and future. Shit is sick. I love that. Awesome. Super, super awesome. So I'm super excited to see where Absolute Flash keeps going in the future. Now, the next one here is actually really, really exciting. I think this might have jumped to my new favorite because this one's super, super interesting. Absolute Martian Manhunter. One and two, bro. These are super, super awesome. These might be the ones that you have to read first to introduce you to the series. I think they're pretty sick. Um, Super cool premise here. I don't know specifically all that much about Martian Manhunter, but this is my first origin story, I think, specifically of just him. Specifically just this character that's not like maybe told in a few episodes of like the DC the unlimited TV shows and maybe a few video games, right? I'm not super knowledgeable on Manhunter. But for this backstory, he is just this I guess this alien. I don't know if they're Martians, right? But I'm just gonna suppose they're aliens. Just maybe a little bit of context. They're aliens that was in this big building explosion at this time. I think like a bank, and someone was in it, and he saved this person's life. The context so far is just from episodes 1 and 2. The alien saves this person's life, and this person is alive. It's still him. It's this normal dude, and he wakes up in like his home, and everything's. Oh, he wakes up in a hospital actually. And he wakes up in his hospital. Everything's fine. He doesn't know why. He's in his home, and he has like kids and a family. He starts hearing voices in his head, and he would like smell people's memories. And turns out it's the alien inside of him. He's inside the Martian Manhunter. This dude's like he's like Venom. He's like being a parasite to this guy. We don't know like if he's like dangerous to attach to this person. But as far as I've known, the context of Martian the Manhunter is that he's a shapeshifter. He just has a human form. He's not like living in somebody's body or something like that. Super super cool premise, really really like that. I actually find that super interesting, and the premise goes way deeper than that because this guy is like an FBI agent, and he uses this ability to solve crimes and stuff, and I think that's super awesome. The art is absolutely killer because they use the colors and the way that the scents are used for Monster Manhunter. The color palette is really keen on that. I find this really really interesting. I would actually really like to get like physical versions of this. Apparently, there's like a way you can like have the colors glow if you hold it up to like light or something. Now I read these digitally, very upsetting, but I will try to get these physically somewhere, which seems pretty fun. I have not read Wonder Woman, Superman, or Batman. I will by the end of the week, and then we can talk about everything that comes out about those next episode. And then I think we will do the rest of the manga that we got to catch up on, right? Like, there's no One Piece this week, so I'm not really going to really worry about manga right now. We're not really reading anything super interesting. I did see that JoJo's got a new chapter, chapter 25. So next week we will talk about the new chapter of JoJo's. That will definitely happen. And I'm just slacking on the reading front. Not really sure what I'm gonna read for the next few weeks or episodes. Not really sure. Probably a book. Certainly a book in the future. Just not sure like what kind. Something that we've been talking about here for a while is the Last of Us TV show for the HBO show. We've been following the show for a very long time since it started, like episode 1, I think last year or so, 2 years ago. Only because there was such big drama about things that were very unwarranted for a video game. There were things that people didn't like about Abby and the character model, and like the voice actors got hate on her, And we see the same kind of stuff happening for the TV show, and I find that horrible. People that do that are disgusting, and it's just funny to talk about because that's what we're doing here. I find the video game very fun, and I wanted to see what differences the show has to offer for the game. Now, it does seem that the game is actually really truly different than the show. Like two really different experiences. Like it's actually conceptually different. The show has a big difference between the game where Ellie has a little bit more information before she goes off into her journey. I'm really not going to talk about what that was because I think it's very spoilery for people who may not even know anything about Last of Us very specifically, and then like the first season. So like really not gonna talk about that for people who really aren't caught up there. But if you know, you know. Right now, episode 6, like it's just there, crazy, crazy. And now I'm wondering like where are we going with the show? And they'll probably do something where like they're just gonna you know tie it in with uh season 3. I feel like season 3 is just gonna be them becoming friends, Ellie and uh, Abby, Ellie and Abby, just because that's all I can. They don't. I don't know. I don't really see these two getting into those really deep fights later. Like there's the basement fight. I think. I don't know. Everything else besides the show being different from the game, I think it's great overall. It's a phenomenal show. The space scene was awesome, and then the little songs that we get throughout the show is really nice. Now all the action stuff, this one is definitely more of a oh remember me kind of season. It's definitely a lot of that now. I'm not really sure what we're gonna get in terms of action later on. uh, I don't know if we're gonna get like the big storm fight at the end between like the two factions, the military and like the hunter people. And I don't know if we're gonna get much of the Abby storyline. If we don't get a lot of the Abby storyline, I'm gonna be really upset. Like Abby crossing the bridges with that kid. I want that scene so bad. And then they do that shit with like the bus that I guess is like hanging there and Rat King. I really want to see Rat King appear in the show, but I don't know if we're gonna get any of that. I'm pretty sad that they were splitting season 2 and 3 this way for the game. I feel like season 2 could have started with like the journey should have started episode 2, and by episode 6 she should have been like on Abby's ass in the aquarium or something like that. Yeah, I believe we're only going to get 8 episodes for the season. I think that was what I had last time. That's basically what we're only watching for the podcast. Not much else to really talk about there. I haven't really seen many shows really, super drag me in. I think the last show that was really gravitating me was Solo Leveling. Just starting that out early on was really fun. And I don't know what else to watch. It's been pretty slow for the most part. We're trying to do the Magic the Gathering and then the Switch stuff, but I am trying to do Final Fantasy 14 stuff. We're getting ready for episode 100 as well. Big plans just to get things ready for that. And yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. So anyway, relatively shorter episode than normal, I believe, but for next Monday, we'll might do an unboxing. Very unsure how we're going to split it, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen with unboxing some of these cards, but I definitely want to do that in the future. Anyway, I will see all of you next Monday, and we'll talk about whatever game announcements or anything happens in between then. Peace.